challenge y'all to do something. Look up the term eternal generation. What that teaching is the idea that Jesus was begotten by the Father sometime back in eternity. That's a Roman Catholic teaching, you guys. That's a Roman Catholic teaching, you guys. I challenge y'all to do something. Look up the term eternal generation. What that teaching is the idea that Jesus was begotten by the Father sometime back in eternity. That's a Roman Catholic teaching, you guys. It is actually in the Nicene Creed. What non-trinitarian Adventists believe you can find in the Nicene Creed. Go look up the Nicene Creed.
Now it's clear, when we talk about the word beget, it means of the same kind. And that's what Jesus was, eternally begotten from the Father. He did have no start. There was not a time where he didn't exist. He was eternally begotten from the Father. And he was made of the same substance. He was of the same kind.
It's one God, eternally in three persons, and one of these persons is begotten of the Father, always. Always has been, always will be, never began, never will end, does not happen at a point in time, but is eternal in quality and duration. Eternal generation explains how God has eternally self-differentiated Father, Son, and Spirit.
We would want to note that again, using the example with my children, is that it's a temporal generation in the sense that there was a point at which my children did not exist. And I jokingly say, maybe sometimes to my daughter or something, oh, no, you weren't alive then, when you look at these pictures, you were just a twinkle in daddy's eye. Yeah. So there was a point at which my daughter, for example, and my children did not exist. Whereas for the Son, this is what gets to that little, modifier there, eternal generation, that there's no point at which the Son did not exist. It's an eternal existence for the Son. Just as the Father's essence is eternal, so the Son, because he shares in that essence, it's eternal.
Now, this is important because in Trinitarian doctrine, this idea of the eternal generation of Jesus the Son refers to the fact that the Son has always been the Son. The Father has eternally always been the Father. There was not a time when the Son was not. And this was the exact thing that the Nicene Council was called for. Because Arius and his followers were literally chanting, there was a time when the Son was not, that he was somehow created.
What is the issue? The issue is that some people believe that Jesus was the literal Son of God way, way, way back in eternity. In other words, back in eternity, Jesus was born of the Father. Begotten. Let me use that word. Jesus was begotten of the Father. So at some point, he came forth from the Father way, way, way back sometime in eternity past. The problem with that is that if Jesus at some point came forth from the Father into existence, then it means that at one point, Jesus did not exist. All right, y'all following? That's the implication. That Jesus at some point did not exist, and at some point he came into existence, and he was the first in existence to come into existence. And then by him, everything else was created.
First, human fathers precede their offspring in time. A son is always younger than his father. This is a major point of difference with the eternal begetting, for the Father's begetting of the Son is beyond time, never having a beginning and never having an end. There was no point in eternity past when the Father existed without his Son.
The Son is eternally begotten from the Father. The word begotten assumes a beginning, a coming into existence. Seth didn't exist before he was begotten from Adam. This is not the case with God the Son. He was eternally begotten. He has his life from the Father, but he is without beginning or end. In the early 4th century, the Arians used to sing a little ditty about the Son. There was a time when he was not. They sang lies. The Son is eternally begotten.
The phrase in question is found in multiple Baptist and Christian confessions from yesteryear. In short, the phrase simply conveys the idea that Jesus has eternally existed as the only begotten Son of God. Note it doesn't say that he was generated at some point in eternity, but instead, that he has always existed as the only begotten from all eternity. Note again, it doesn't mean that Christ was begotten in eternity, but instead it means that he has eternally existed as the only begotten.
The eternal generation of the Son is categorically different from human generation at this point. When a human father begets a human son, the begetting takes place within the created realm that is bound by the limitations of time. A human father temporally precedes his son in existence. There is a time when a human father exists, but his son does not yet exist.